We are live on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Shivam, can you confirm as well if we are good to go from your side? And Malar, if you can just double check on the YouTube live stream.
Yeah, we are live. Hey
All right.
guys.
Shivam, are we good to go, or are we waiting for somebody on the faculty side as well to join in? Good to go. All right, good. Hey guys, welcome to I think Outscale's first ever stream for uh, a slightly younger demographic. Uh, I'm pretty excited to talk to you guys today. There's a little bit of an echo. Okay, that's fine. So my name's Man Grover. I'm the founder of Outscale. I've been in the game development space for the last 10 plus years overall in the technology space, working with companies for the last close to 11 to 12 years now. So I'll be joining you today. With me, I have Malar as well. Malar is one of our uh, previous students who joined in our game development program. He then spent some time with game companies in India, and then he eventually decided to come back and join Outscale on our mission to help educate a lot more people in the field of game development as well and mentor them for careers in this industry as well. So, Shubham, again, thanks again for the opportunity to talk to all the passionate folks today. Really excited about it. Um, Shubham, I think you already shared some questions with me yesterday, right? Uh,
Yes, I did share a few questions with you yesterday. Plus, I would like to bring Jairaj. Like, I would want you to give him permission to unmute so he can introduce you to the students once.
sure, sure. Manar, can you please provide access?
Jairaj, can you please raise up your hand?
Jairaj, right?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Jairaj.
cool. Jairaj, I asked you to mute. Jairaj, can you try and unmuting yourself?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yep, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Mayank Grover, CEO of Outscale and a proud alumni of Delhi Technical University and CMU. Sir is passionate about helping people break into the gaming industry by helping them with their portfolio, connecting them with the industry mentors for mentorship, and unlocking access to top tier game companies. At Outscale, over the past 2.5 years, his company has enrolled hundreds of students in their full stack game development program and helped them land jobs with top tier game companies like Ubisoft, Mobile Premier League, etc. He has over a decade of professional experience building high quality games with experience working with top tech companies around the globe, including Electronic Arts, DNA, Jungly Games, etc. We welcome you, sir, and we hope that we can learn a lot from you today.
Yep, thank you. Thanks, Jairaj, for the warm introductions as well. But yeah, I think we can jump straight into some questions. Um, Shubham, do you want to kick off with the questions that you guys have shortlisted, or do you guys have some other action plan in mind for today? My voice is a bit low. Okay, I'll try to be a little bit louder. I didn't hook up my external microphone, but
Yes.
this one should be good. Uh, cool. Shivam, you want to start with some questions, or do you want to bring in the folks who ask the questions and let them ask?
Okay, so sir, actually we have already selected questions,
Mhm.
like handpicked the questions from among like 100 questions. So considering the time limitation, so we can just go in and start with those.
Sure. Start.
Yeah.
Fire.
Okay, cool. So if you can see on Discord, I have actually shared the questions list with
Mhm.
you. Right. You can read it through while I'm also delegating the questions. Just give me a minute. I'll just load it up.
Sure.
Okay. And I'll name the student
Yeah.
and the question. And
Go.
eventually, in the end, we can have a question answer round. Right?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. Just give me a second. Let me load that up. So
I'm also just looking through the questions. If I like something, I'll just pick it.
sorry.
I think there was one question regarding the very classical question. So Ashish Kumar Singh, you asked that which is the best software for development of games? Is it Unity or Unreal or some other language? How many here are actually familiar with the terms Unity or Unreal? Just raise your hands. If you know these terms, like don't care if you know the engine or not, but you are familiar with, oh, there is something. Okay, quite a lot. Interesting. Okay. If you had to pick one, what would that be? Will you guys pick Unreal or will you pick Unity to learn game development? You can just put that as a one word answer in the chat. I think there were about 15, 16 people who raised their hand. Okay, there's been a landslide of Unity and probably one or two Unreals in between. Okay, perfect. Seems like Unity is the majority winner here. To learn Unity is the best, Unreal is best for best games. Okay, so Ayush, are you saying that Unity does not make best games? Python and Unreal. Okay, interesting. Cool. I think so. At the end of the day, build box. Okay, interesting. Um, so at the end of the day, understand this: Unity and Unreal and Buildbox and pretty much anything else. It's a tool, right? It's a tool to do the job, right? Now, imagine that if you have to unscrew a screw, right? Does it really matter what size of the screwdriver are you using if it gets the job done? No, it doesn't, right? So from that perspective, when you're learning, right, the concepts of game development, right, the underlying principles remain exactly the same. It does not matter whether you're using Unity or Unreal or something else, right? It's just the platform changes, the technology changes. In case of Unity, you'll be using C Sharp. If you're using Unreal, most likely you'll be starting with something like um, Blueprints, which is the visual scripting language where you don't have to code, but then bigger projects will take you into things like C++, right? So from that perspective, it actually does not matter which tool you start with, right? A lot of people who are starting to learn development, right, or starting to learn pretty much anything, get confused that should I learn this, should I learn that? There's just so many things, etc., etc. I just get confused, right? That which one should I start with, right? Anytime you have a confusion, right, like this, even if you're like, oh, I want to learn how to, create 2D graphics, right, or just create 2D images, right? Should I use Photoshop? Should I use GIMP? Should I use something else, etc.? Doesn't matter. Just pick one and go, right? That's the more important thing. Pick one, stick with it, learn it, and go. Get to the end result. The end result is to build the game, right? That's the end result. The technology you use is just a medium to get there, right? So what's more important is that whichever you pick, you stick with it. What people end up doing is they'll start 2 months on Unity, then they'll go around to Unreal, then they go around to Buildbox, then they go around to something else, etc. So they're never able to actually get to a final build product, a final build game that they can show it to their friends, that you can show it to your batchmates and whatnot, right? So from that perspective, it's important to get the end product out, end product built, and technology that you use to build it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, when you're building games, the goal of a game is to add sort of entertainment in somebody else's life, make them feel fun when they're playing that game, right? When people are playing the game, do they really care whether you build it on Unity or Unreal if they're having fun? Nobody cares, right? So think it from that perspective. and whichever you have a preference towards, pick that and go. If you are ever in doubt, go with Unity, right? It's a slightly easier system to set up. It's slightly easier to get into it. The learning complexity is slightly easier, but there's no harm in starting with Unreal as well. So if you're in doubt in this particular scenario, start with Unity, just because the learning curve is easier. But you can go with either one. If you've already started Unreal, stick with Unreal. Don't go to Unity. If you started Unity, go with Unity. Don't move to Unreal. If you haven't started, start with Unity. Okay. I think Shubham asked. Shubham, can you just quickly iterate that question from the chat?
Yep, sure. Sir, so the first question here is, many people here don't understand Unity as a tool or Unreal. So
Mhm.
can you please bring it about the basic, what is game development and what is gaming? Like many of people mix both of these terms together, right? So
Yeah.
can you please, bring some light onto it?
Sure. So I think that's a good question. What is the difference between gaming and game development, right? Um, Hopefully, like Malar, you want to add something to this?
No, you go ahead first. I will. If
Okay. All right. So I think when we talk about passion for games, majority people think about, oh, I'm passionate about playing games, right? I'm passionate about exploring new games and playing them, whether it's on mobile, whether it's on desktop, whether it's on PlayStation or Xbox, etc. Right? iPad. There's so many different platforms to play games on, right? uh, Game development on the other side is completely different, right? That's where you are actually a software developer who is basically focusing on building games, right? You're a computer science engineer who's focused on building games, right? So that's what game development is, versus gaming, which is basically nothing but playing games, right? So hopefully that highlights out a big difference. The art of making games, and when I say the art of making games, I don't mean like literally art, like paint and sketching and stuff, but I mean the the whole science behind the development of games itself, whether it's from things like game design, how far your character jumps, right? How high you jump, that's all sort of game design, right? How fast your character can move in a game world, that's all game design. Then what does your character look like, right? What does the game world look like, right? How does the building look like, and how does the trees look like? All that is game art, right? How does your character move, like what are the, that's basically all animations, right? How does this entire pieces come together so that you can actually control them through a keyboard or a joystick or a touch screen? That's all game programming, right? So when we talk about game development actually encompasses all of these things. It includes art, animation, sounds, engineering, game design, production. All of these together form this industry called game development, right? And gaming is another part of it, which is on the playing side of it, right? So how do you play games? And nowadays there are ways of people, I'm sure a lot of you follow YouTubers or Twitch celebrities in some sense who are game players, right? They play and stream games, right? So you have this alternative industry of folks who are actually making a career by playing games as well. But then you have this industry for people who are interested about the act of building games, right? So you have those two sort of counter pieces as well. So hopefully that kind of explains. If anybody has any other follow-up questions to whatever we are talking about, feel free to drop them in the chat. Malar, Shubham, you guys can coordinate the messages in the chat to figure out if there is some interesting follow-up question that you want to pick up as well. Um, cool. Shubham, next. Anything else?
And dissect it to explain those all parts in a brief manner. That would make everything much more clearer.
So which parts? You mean like game design, game art?
Yes. For example, if we pick up CSGO, and you can give example from that game or any other game that you like.
Yeah, I'll take PUBG as an example, right? I think everybody understands PUBG very well, or at least you would have seen a video of PUBG. Just quick raise of hands, have folks played PUBG here? PUBG OP. All right. Uh, Good number of folks who have played PUBG. Call of Duty. Rhythma is like, Call of Duty. Yeah. Okay. Has anybody here played a Transformers game on mobile? Like on your mobile device? Has anyone? Okay. Okay, quite a few. But I'm guessing you guys played some recent version of Transformers. So fun fact is I worked on the Transformers game that came out in 2014. So a lot of the things that you were playing, if you ever played the 2014 version of the game, then I actually ended up working on it back in the day. But anyways, so I think if you take PUBG as more of a recent example, right? Like when you have your character, right, and you press the forward button to make your character move in the forward direction, right? That's basically engineering. So engineering's role is to make sure that when you do an action, right, how does the game behave, right? How does the game react, right? Whether it's the jump button or the fire button or the sprint button, right? Whatever combination of actions that you're performing, the enemies are reacting to it in certain way, right? So all of this together forms game engineering, right? And when you press the jump button, the animation that you see where your character actually goes up and down, that animation is all part of game art, right? The actual character that you see on the screen, that's game art, right? So artists are going in and actually creating these characters, and then they get imported into a game engine. Like the first question that we discussed regarding Unreal versus Unity, these are game engines, right, which engineers heavily work on to put all these pieces together, right? So they take art from artists such as your actual characters and take animation from animators. Animators is an actual title in the industry, who basically build animations for these characters. They put them together, and then at the press of a button, an engineer's job is to make sure to write the right kind of code to fire off the right animations, to fire off the right movement and motion and everything, right? So that's how all these pieces to come together. And then there are a lot more, obviously, complexities to it. How does your enemy behave when you start running towards the enemy, right? Enemies will have some kind of a logic or code written on them, etc., as well, that will make it so that your enemies are able to react to your players' movement, right? Your players' behavior, and so on and so forth, right? So hopefully that gives you a good sense of, uh, broadly these different domains. And when you think about a game that you're playing, what all that sort of you see on the screen, how do you break it down? Which part is art? Which part is animation? Which part is actual engineering, right? So you're able to understand those pieces separately. Hopefully it makes sense now. Shivam, anything else that you want to cover on this topic?
Yep, sure. So majorly, sir, in almost all of my classes, as they know, I'm a game developer, right? So many times they ask me one question. So what are the career options for game development in India? If you are interested in to go into that field, so how much can we earn? What is the ceiling and everything related to that they ask. And
Got it.
I also reply a lot of things, but I want to hear your views on this one.
Okay. So what are the career options for game developers today in India, right? So I think the question is actually a little bit wrong, especially in today's context. Can somebody highlight out in chat why do I say that the question is wrong? And Malar, feel free to jump in. Shubham, feel free to jump in if you guys have some thoughts as well. So the question is that what are the career options for game developers in India? First, I'd like to ask you guys, why do I say that this question is wrong? So game developer already is a career option. Game dev is a career. Game dev can be a career. And so I think Avnish hit it spot on, right? When you're talking about game development, right, it's not about your career options in India, right? It's about what you can achieve, right? With today's world, especially since COVID, everything has gone remote, right? I have been working in this industry in India since 2014 alone, right? Before that, I was in US. So since 2014, there has not been a single team that I've been on where I did not have teammates who were international, right? And this is even before the coronavirus work from home kind of drastic change that happened, right? So when you're looking at today's world, and this does not apply to game development, right? If you ask a question that says, what is the career prospects for any field in India today, you're limiting your own scope, right? You're not thinking big, you're not thinking global, right? So what you need to think of is, what are my career options when my scope is my entire world, right? If you have passion for something, right, your skill level will eventually rise up to meet international levels, right? And then you do not need to limit your options to India alone, right? I'm not saying it's easy, right? It's not easy. It is difficult. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of passion. It takes a lot of commitment, right? But for that to happen, you need to think big and you need to think global, right? Today, when I think about Outscale as a game development platform for helping young folks break into this industry, right? I don't think what are the options for me to do this in India. I think global, right? So irrespective of whichever domain that you think about, right? Especially today, by the time you guys finish your 12th grade, you guys finish your college education, right? The world would look very different from what it is today, right? It's even going to be much, much more remote first, right? And people are going to be way more open for having teams where, teammates are distributed across every continent in the world, right? So from that perspective, the moment you say, all right, career options only in India, you've already narrowed your focus down so much that you've limited your options. So first of all, think global. Okay. Yes. Parth, uh, sorry to interrupt on this question, but Parth, I'm not going to answer that. That's a very controversial question. We can discuss that separately. But we'll use our today's conversation for more constructive topics. Okay. Um, so going back to our question regarding game development as a career option, right? Um, in terms of what people think about career options, majority of the time, um, the focus is around, hey, what kind of jobs can I get, or what kind of pay grade do these developers get compared to, say, developers in regular tech industry. If I was working with, say, Amazon or Google as a software engineer or an Android developer, compared to that, working with a game company as a game developer, am I getting paid equally? Do I have equal number of options and all, right? So here's one statistics that I'll share with you. If there are 100 jobs for regular software developers in the market, right, there are 10,000 people applying for those 100 jobs, right? Because every person who graduates from an engineering college, or folks who don't even graduate from engineering college, are still doing Java courses, C++ courses, Android development courses, web development courses to apply for those jobs as well, right? So for every 100 jobs out there, there are probably 10,000 people applying for those jobs, right? But for game development, for every 100 jobs out there, there are less than 10 qualified people who can do those jobs, right? So there is an acute shortage of game developers in the industry altogether, right? And the reason why, we've already seen this firsthand is that for all the developers that have graduated from Outscale, every 2 to 3 months, they're getting a new job offer from a better company, from even a better company, from even a better company. One of our previous graduates, who actually was, Shivam can tell you guys more about him as well, because he was one of the Shivam's batchmates as well. Um, he, I'm sure you guys have heard of games like Ludo King, and the the
4G.
PUBG, yeah, 4G game, right? So just quick raise of hands if you've heard of these games, Ludo King and 4G. Yeah, okay. So a lot of you guys know about these games, right? So one of the developers who graduated from our program, he ended up actually working with first the Ludo King company, and then in 6 months he ended up moving to the 4G team. So now he's working on the 4G game as well, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that when you think about the scope of opportunities, right, you're ever only going to be limited by your skill set, right? Do not look at, oh, somebody from Google got a 1 crore package and blah, 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 right? A lot of that is absolutely, wasteful information, because it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you for how long that person was studying to prepare to get into Google, right? How many hours and years of effort that gone into it, right? That 1 crore is not something that Google is transferring that into that person's bank account, right? It doesn't work that way. These are a lot of the time marketing tactics, right? So what you need to focus on is, what is my skill level, right? Once you have the skill levels, I can guarantee you companies will line up outside your door to hire you, to bring you in, and you will have the options to choose where you want to go, what you want to work on, right? Majority people skip out on the fact that they don't put in enough effort and time to make sure that their skill is at that level where they don't have to reach out to companies reach out to them, right? That's what you want to strive for. That's what you want to achieve, right? If you're able to hit that mark where you have put in the hard work and the years of effort that it takes to be good at anything, right? I'm not talking about game development, I'm just talking about anything, right? Companies will line up. People who want you to work with them will line up, whether they want you to start a company as a game co-founder, whether they want to hire you to work on their company and build game products for them, etc., right? Opportunities will come begging on your doors. You first need to put in the effort to make sure that you have the right skill level, and then those opportunities won't be local, it'll be global, right? So first you need to make sure that you have set up your skill level to that level where companies come to you, you don't go to companies, right? Opportunities come to you, you don't have to chase opportunities. You need to fundamentally reverse that equation, right? It's very easy to sit on job platforms and continuously hit apply, apply, apply. That's what majority people end up doing, and that's where they realize majority good jobs don't come through those kind of approaches, right? They are the ones that come to you when you're not even looking, right? So that's how you want to think about the skill level. Yeah. Apart from that, in terms of salaries, in terms of pay grade, I can tell you that if you have the right skill level, you'll earn way more than a regular web developer or an Android developer or other kind of developers. That I can tell you, because I've been in that bucket where I was one of the highest paid employees for all my previous companies. I'm not saying one, I'm saying all, right? So you just need to make sure that you're putting in the effort first to get to that skill level where you are in the top 1% of, the talent that's available. After that, everything else will fall into place without you having to worry about it. So focus on that. Don't focus on the bogus news of, well, some guy got placed at 1 crore package in San Francisco. 1 crore package in San Francisco means nothing, right? It looks a fancy number in India. It means nothing in San Francisco. So don't focus on those kind of bits and pieces. Hopefully that's good enough information for today. Shivam, I can take one more question, and then I think I'll hand it over to you guys between you and Malhar.
Okay, sure, sir. So majorly the next question is, like, Asked by Sapna, 10th F. So, how can we as students start developing our own basic games? Like, what path should we follow? Because we still
Hmm.
don't know much about coding and stuff. So, how should we begin?
Got it. That's a very good question. So when you're just getting started, the simplest thing to do is try and pick up a very simple game project that you like. Okay, so the goal here is to learn how to build a game and not really to like you cannot set expectations that your first game project will be a PUBG, right? So pick up a simplistic game that you like to play first, right? So if you like to play some game, pick that up that seems simple enough, right? um, Preferably a single player game, something that has good mechanics that you can understand, right? Something that has that you genuinely like to play first of all, right? What this will do is it will focus your mind into one direction, that okay, this is what my end goal should look like. Okay, now if you have a clear idea of an end goal, right, then it's easy for you to identify the steps that you want to take to get there, right? And that's where sometimes even a mentor can come in handy as well, right? So let's say you pick up, Nathan just mentioned, maybe pick up an indie platformer, right? That's a perfect example. So if you have a smaller game project or a platformer, like I'll pick up a very classical example, Mario, right? I'm sure you guys have seen or played some version of a Mario game, right? They're usually very simple, very fun and engaging and all, right? So from Mario, it's easy to see one level of a Mario game and say, all right, I have a character here. I want to make the character move across this platform, make him jump, dodge enemies, and then collect these certain items, etc. Right? But now, when you're just looking at it, take a piece of pen and paper and start jotting these things down that are different, unique elements in the order that you see them, right? So first, a character appears on the screen, right? That's like literally the very first thing, right? So the character is standing on the platform, right? So you can use these elements to understand and break a game down before you start. What people usually end up doing is that they directly start jumping into the game engine, or they start jumping into actually building the game, but they don't understand what exactly is the game, right? So from that perspective, you need to take one step back and break a game down to first understand what is it that you're trying to build, right? So from that perspective, once you understand this breakdown, right? Okay, I need to have a character. Now you can Google how to set up a character in whichever engine that you're working in, right? How to set up a Mario-like character in Unity, how to set up a Mario-like character in Unreal, right? Or how to set up a 2D platformer in Unreal. And I'm sure you'll find ample of resources like that one, right? So, step by step you will be able to incrementally build up, because you have done this first exercise of imagining what a game looks like, breaking it down into its smaller pieces, trying to implement one piece after the other without worrying too much about the end product, because you already have a clear idea of what the end product looks like, what you're trying to get at, right? So every step of the way you have a reference to look at and understand, right? So this is first from understanding the game perspective, right? So that's how you want to first, that's like your step one exercise, right? Step two is then actually trying to implement these features, right? One at a time. How do I set up an actual game character, right? For that, there are ample free resources that are already available online, right? That you can Google at each step of the way, right? So if you go to, let's say, Unity as an example, there are a lot of, uh, basic tutorials to get started, such as how do you take a ball and make it roll around a platform with the control of certain buttons, right? It's a very, a very classical example of the first project that anybody makes in Unity, right? So you can start with that just to get a basic hang of how do I set up something, how do I connect the camera, how do I connect the keyboard, all of these little pieces you'll be able to start to put together. Now the goal of these kind of small exercises is to give you a little bit of an idea about what these components are, right? Like keyboard is one part of the game, right? Having some graphics on the screen is another part of the game, right? A camera is another part of the game, right? Like, are you looking at from the top down? Are you looking at from a third person view? Are you looking at it from the side view as a platformer, right? All of these are just but different camera placements, right? So all of these small tutorials that you'll be able to follow on, say, like Unity's own forum and so on and so forth, will give you a good idea about how to get started by implementing this. By no means you'll become perfect at implementing a keyboard controls in your game the very first time, but you will have a basic idea. Oh, if I want a button to be pressed and I want a character to move on the screen, how do I do that? How do I connect the button with the character, right? How does this connection work? Just that roll a ball example, and probably Shivam can share the link separately with you guys. But how does that actually work? You'll be able to learn from that. And then you can replicate that same logic, that same behavior into your own game project as well, right? So little by little, by connecting these dots, you'll be eventually making progress towards building your first game. If nothing else, if you're still feeling stuck or not sure where to start, Shivam, maybe pointing to like the Outscales YouTube page where we have this tutorial workshop as well, right? A 2-hour workshop on getting started, right? So maybe Shivam can point you guys to that. It's all there on YouTube. You can just follow it along with it. Ask Shivam some questions, or I'm not sure if you guys have Discord or not. You can join in to the Discord community and ask questions there as well, right? So that's where leveraging a lot of the communities, leveraging a lot of the resources that you already have at your disposal can come in handy for starting to learn and explore as you figure out what you want to build. Okay, hopefully that kind of answers the question as well. Yep. How can we join the Discord? I think Shivam or Malhar can share the link with you guys as well. Yeah. Somebody asked, is Unity or Unreal paid? So they're both free. You don't have to worry about paying anything there. Okay. They're both free to join in. Nikhil shared a Discord link. I'm not sure what that link is. So I think Shivam and Malar, one of you guys can share the actual Discord link for the Outscale community as well. Yeah, all right. Malar just posted the link in the channel as well, so you guys can join in there. Could Shivam, I think you mentioned there was one more question.
Yes, that is a special requested question, a short one, and I think every student have it in mind. So the question is, sir, can do we need to get perfect in all the areas of game development that you just mentioned, animation, game art, and everything, to be a good game developer, or do we just need to be perfect in one?
Good question. So the question is, should I master all the skill sets when it comes to game development, or do I need to focus on just one? Right. I think, especially for the games industry, here's why the games industry is kind of different from the rest of the tech industry. When you have, say, something like Uber or Zomato or these companies, right, which are heavily tech companies, majority of the time when you are in a team, you're working with people who are similar to you, right? So if you're an engineer in Uber, you will be working closely with a lot of other engineers and a few designers. Okay. Don't worry about what these roles actually mean if you're not sure, but just understand that 80 to 90% of your time, engineers are usually working with engineers. And then sometimes they are working with designers as well, right? Which is a slightly different non-technical role compared to engineering. But when you are in a game company, right, you're 20% of your time working with other engineers, 20% of your time you're working with artists, 20% of your time you're working with producers, 20% of your time you're working with, something else, right? Like sound designers or animators and level designers. There are a lot of different roles depending on what kind of games that the company is making. So from that perspective, what you need to do is you need to build a skill set that looks like a T shape. So what I mean by T shape is like this, right? So you have a horizontal bar at the top and a vertical bar in the middle, right? Now what this T-shaped skill set looks like is that you need to know a little bit of everything. Okay, you need to know a little bit about art, you need to know a little bit about design, you need to know a little bit about production, you need to know a little bit about engineering, you need to know a little bit about gameplay, etc., right? Sound as well, right? So you need to know a little bit of everything. So imagine that this is 20%, right? If a company hires an artist who's 100%, you only need to know about 20% of art. You only need to know a little bit about programming, a little bit about sound, right? But then let's say that you choose engineering as your main focus. You want to become a game developer, right? In that case, you need to, the T shape that we talked about, right? So the top bar is this 20% knowledge of everything, right? But then this 80% knowledge of one thing that you want to specialize in, right? Which is, let's say, engineering in our case, right? If you want to become an engineer or a game developer, right? In that case, you're specializing in computer science, development, programming, coding, whatever you want to call it, right? These are all names to the same thing, right? So now you need to build proper, deep knowledge and specialization of that one domain, right? And that's where it's called a T skill set, right? It looks like a T shape. So you know everything a little bit. So the reason for that is so that you can work closely with other people in the industry. Game industry is very different from the rest of the industry where you have to work closely with everybody else, right? Otherwise, the game is not going to work, right? It's just not going to be fun, right? So a designer and a programmer need to coordinate very closely together every day in order to make sure that whatever they're implementing is actually fun, whatever they're making is actually fun. So from that perspective, you need to know a little bit about everything. So when a designer says that this doesn't feel strong, right? This game animation or this enemy death animation doesn't feel impactful, right? What does that really mean, right? You should be able to understand those things, right? So from that perspective, you need to have that T knowledge set, and that T is what will basically give you impact in terms of being able to talk to other people and understand what they mean and incorporate those things into your own vertical, which in this case was engineering. So you can implement them really well, you can code them really well, but still are able to understand what they are talking about, right? When they talk about these kind of things such as design related, art related, and so on and so forth. So you always need to think about which one do you want to specialize in. Let's say on the other example, somebody is very excited about sound, right? Creating different kind of music, background music, sound effects, explosion effect music, and whatnot, right? In that case, you need to know a little bit about everything else, but then you need to go very deep into specializing into sound design, sound engineering. How do you implement sound? How do you create new sounds? How do you compose music, right? All of those is the vertical specialization, the vertical bar of T for sound. So that's how you want to think about, what do you need to master and what do you need to just know enough. Okay. So hopefully that answers that question as well. Cool. So I think I'll close off here. I need to jump into another call after this. So Shivam, any closing comments, thoughts? I'll leave it to you and Malhar to take it forward from here. Um, and Malhar has been conducting a lot of workshops, a lot of live seminars as well for Outscale. Um, you know, a lot with college audience, right? People who are actually working in colleges and all, right? So he does a lot of live workshops. If you go to the Outscale YouTube channel, you'll see Malar's videos as well there. So hopefully you'll continue to have fun engaging and asking questions. Ask him all kinds of questions, all weird questions, all good questions as well. Is Outscale working on any projects? Outscale is working on a lot of projects, not really how you think about game projects. Like we don't build our own games. For Outscale, the mission is helping other people learn game development and build their own games and build careers in this industry. So since Outscale mission is more towards at the intersection of three things: technology, games, and education. So if you draw a triangle, right, and put these three things at the vertices, Outscale sits in the middle, right? So you have games on one side, you have technology on one side, and you have education on one side, right? So we act as, on these sort of three guiding principles. So we don't end up building our own games, but in some sense, we are building people who build games, right? So we're doing one level higher meta, if you guys understand what meta means. But I'm not going to. It's a slightly gamer lingo. Um, cool. Shivam, anything else before I jump off?
Yep, there are many more questions I can see. So, yeah. So this one question is super interesting. So the question says, do we need to do engineering of any kind to be a game developer? Like, is it hard and fast rule that we do engineering for being a game developer?
Hmm. So I think it's a very long answer. Short version of it is no. You can do game development while you are in your ninth grade as well, right? Like really nothing is stopping you as long as you have the time and your school studies don't impact, right? You can continue to learn game development even while you're in school. So you don't need to do officially engineering. I personally am very strongly sort of inclined towards the fact that people from any background can effectively build the skill sets that they need as long as they focus and continue to dedicate time and effort to it, right? So we've had examples, and Shubham has mentored these students as well along with me, who came from art background, who came from design background. They had a bachelor's degree and 7 8 years experience in art in the industry. They were working for 7 8 years in the industry, um, 30 plus years of age, and they joined the Outscales program and are now working as developers, right? They did not come from a computer science background. They did not even come from engineering background. Forget computer science. They did not even go to an engineering college ever, right? But now they're working as developers. Because today, when you talk about building games, what industry cares about and what people care about is, are you able to build what you what we need, right? Are you able to build? Do you have the skills, right? That's all people care about, right? It doesn't matter from the perspective of what degree you have per se, or it doesn't matter, did you go to an XYZ college? All those things don't matter, right? It's a very big topic, something that I can spend 1 hour talking about as well. Shubham, actually, this is topic that I'm going to pick up as part of our clan labs this Friday or this Saturday. I don't have the time today to go into it because at 12 I need to jump into the next meeting. So I don't know. You guys think about, talk to Piyush if you guys want to figure out how we can share access of that with the folks who might be interested, because it's a slightly deeper topic and something that I feel very very strongly about and passionate about, that you don't need degrees to succeed in life. You need passion and you need skills, right? If you're able to find those two, you're good. So from that perspective, I think it's a much longer topic that I can go into now. And I think Shivam and Malar can tell you guys that.
Yep, shortly. So I'll share the access to the video that you just
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
like in the next week or so.
yep,
So yes. So other than that, there is a very basic question again here. So what is the difference between a triple A game and an indie title? So I think so. Malhar can
yeah.
also take that question up,
Perfect,
right?
perfect. Cool, guys. Awesome. It's great talking to you, everyone. I hope we had more time. Would love to maybe do this once more in like 6 months or so. But next time when you guys come, I want to see some game projects. I don't just want to sit and talk. So, join in on the Discord community. Check out the YouTube channel. There are ample resources already available. So, uh, try try hacking your way into building some fun game projects as well. I'm sure Shubham will help you guys as well, and free feel to join on the Discord community. A lot of that community is set up so that folks who are passionate are able to meet other people who are also equally passionate about building games, not just playing games. Playing games is absolutely fun, but keep that for Sundays, the rest of the days, so that you can focus on building games as well, right? Cool. So I think I'll hand it over to uh, build GTA using Buildbox. Okay, great. All the best. I think GTA is a very complex project. You should start with something more achievable so that it gives you confidence to build. It's always into that, smaller pieces are much easier to achieve. Start with those and build up from there, right? Cool, guys. I'll jump off. I'll hand it over to Malhar and Shivam. And I'll see you guys sometime soon in the Discord community as well. All right. Take care, guys. See ya.
Okay, Malhar. So this is gonna be a concluding question for today's workshop. So can you tell the difference between the AAA title and an indie title, and that would be majorly it.
Hello. Yeah, sure. I was mute actually. So yeah. Hey guys. So yeah, it's a very well asked question. What is the difference between indie studio and what is the difference between a triple A studio? So I will keep it short. Simply, it is like difference between a huge team and a small team, as simple as that. Suppose you are taking example of a GTA or Rockstar Studios or EA. On the other hand, Cyberpunk, who developed by the CD Project. So all these teams are approx 1,000 employees, and on the other hand, indie studios are those who are at max 10 to 20 people. So in short, there is a rough number. If your company is having employees more than 50, then you are considered as a AAA. Like it is a people defined rule, you can say that. So in short, a small company means indie, and a large company with large number of employees means AAA.
Okay, I think that would summarize that up.
Yeah.
So thank you, Outscale. Thank you, Malhar,
Yeah.
for taking this workshop. And that would be it. We would be looking forward to more sessions with you.
Yeah,
Apart
sure.
from that, I think the students have learned a lot today.
Yeah.
So that's all. Okay. Have a nice day. Take care.
Great. Thanks guys for joining. Bye bye.